Right now, it's that weird process. The best way that I can describe it is like grieving the loss of parents who are still alive.
I welcome that lawsuit. Now, what she's not aware of is what we're sitting on.
The matter's been resolved today and they've been released on their own signature. These folks have waited since 2012 dealing with this, and it's finally come time where we can deal with it.
We stand in our faith and we stand in what we know is right. And we are very fortunate to have the counsel that we have.
We go to court for sentencing.
I have never been more excited in my life for something. Because here's the thing about defamation.
You're watching this episode, you'll be watching it on Tuesday, November 22nd.
Your defense against slander is the truth.
In the end, the truth will prevail. It may get harder before it gets easier, but we have faith.
Todd and Julie Chrisley, reality stars and former residents of Georgia, received their verdicts this week in a federal tax cheating case. The legal drama involving Todd and Julie Chrisley has been turbulent, difficult, and contentiously debated. The Chrisley Knows Best cast members were charged with federal tax evasion and fraud in 2019, and more than 2 years later, after a 3-week trial, both of them were found guilty. So what was the verdict? What happens next? Stay tuned to find out, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel as well. After multiple delays, a federal judge finally handed down sentences for both Todd and Julie on Monday, November 21. They will both serve time in prison for a number of years. We are now looking back at the couple's legal issues, the allegations made against them, and how they have responded to their conviction. August 12, 2019, Grand Jury. A grand jury brought tax evasion charges against Todd and Julie. Todd and his wife were charged with various counts of conspiracy, bank fraud, wire fraud, and tax evasion, according to court documents obtained by ET. Peter Tarantino, their accountant, was also charged with tax-related charges. Todd instantly went on the attack, dismissing the accusations and saying a disgruntled former worker was behind them. Todd said on Instagram that the former worker sought to persuade the U.S. Attorney's Office that the Chrisleys were accountable for financial crimes. The couple, according to Todd, have nothing to hide. Todd asserted at the time, not only do we know we haven't done anything wrong, but we have a ton of hard evidence and a bunch of supporting witnesses that confirm it. August 14, 2019, entering their requests. On August 14, Todd and Julie appeared in court in Atlanta and pleaded not guilty. The reality TV stars received a $100,000 unsecured bond at the court proceeding. During the hearing, Todd and Julie were not restrained in the courtroom. Todd and Julie were instructed to surrender their passports right away, and their travel was limited to the regions of Middle Tennessee and North Georgia. The pair was further instructed to notify their probation officers in advance of any trips to California for the purpose of filming their reality TV show. Todd said to WSB-TV, a local news station in Atlanta, "We remain steadfast in our faith and in what we see to be correct. We are lucky to have the advice we do, and our family will stick together and travel this path together because we are confident that the Lord will grasp our hands and guide us." October 8, 2019, a few charges have been dropped. Todd and Julie's state tax evasion prosecution was dropped. The pair was officially cleared by the Georgia Department of Revenue of the $2 million claim relating to their state taxes from 2008 to 2016. The state admitted that the Chrisleys had in fact overpaid taxes for a number of years. For just 1 year of improper reporting, the couple's net responsibility for back taxes came to be less than $77,000. The Chrisleys, according to the Department of Revenue, owed no taxes in 2008, 2010, 2011, or 2012, and were entitled to refunds in 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016. The only year they owed money was 2009, which the family has now settled. For allegedly dodging federal taxes in the same years, the pair was still facing federal penalties. October 15, 2019, the Chrisleys sue. The Chrisleys sued the head of the Office of Special Investigations under the Georgia Department of Revenue, claiming that he had abused his authority in an effort to bring bogus tax evasion accusations against them. In their lawsuit, the couple asserted that the filmmaker 𝐥𝐤𝐬𝐽 singled out their estranged daughter Lindsay in an effort to induce her to expose incriminating information about her family and to draw attention to himself in the media. The Chrisleys contend that Waits pursued an increasingly aggressive relationship with Lindsay and improperly disclosed their private tax and grand jury information, which he had access to as a result of his role with the Department of Revenue, in an effort to win her trust and coerce her into cooperation. In a statement to ET, Lindsay's attorney denied any such relationship and insisted that her client was not the source of information that resulted in her parents' indictment. 9 August 2021. Opening up. The Chrisley Knows Best cast members told ET exclusively that if it weren't for their reality show and degree of popularity, they wouldn't be in the scenario they were in. Todd responded, "I wouldn't suppose so. Since then, nobody would care who we are. What's the best and worst part of having the program, TV, and all of this? People frequently ask me," Julie continued. I responded, "Well, image going to work every day of your life with your spouse, your adult children, your minor children, and your mother-in-law. Even if this is a job, all the BS has to end since this is our family at the end of the day." The trial begins on May 17, 2022. The long-awaited federal trial began, and the prosecution claimed in opening statements that the two lied about their income to lenders in order to obtain more than $30 million in loans. According to Us Weekly, Assistant U.S. Attorney Annalise Peters stated in court that the defendants fabricated up documents and then lie through their teeth to get anything they want, whenever they want it. In response, the Chrisleys' attorney claimed that they were not responsible for the fraud and that it was the fault of a disgruntled former employee. June 7, 2022, ordained guilty. Todd and Julie's tax fraud trial ended up being found guilty after over 3 weeks of testimony. A federal court in Georgia found the two defendants guilty on all counts. Todd was found guilty of tax fraud, bank fraud conspiracy, and conspiracy to defraud the United States. Julie was found guilty of bank fraud conspiracy, tax fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to defraud the United States. If found guilty, the two may spend 30 years behind bars. Homeward bound on June 8, 2022. Todd and Julie's bond conditions amended to include electronic monitoring and house confinement when the couple was found guilty of tax fraud. As a result, they were placed under house arrest until their sentencing. The couple's bond condition form, which ET was able to obtain, stated that Todd and Julie were both required to stay at home at all times, with the exception of when they were engaged in work, school, volunteer work, religious obligations, medical care, visits from attorneys, court appearances, or other activities that had been previously approved by the judge or probation officer. According to the bond condition form, the couple is required to cover all or a portion of the location monitoring program expenditures depending on their financial situation as assessed by the probation officer. The pair was further instructed to notify probation of any expenditures above $1,000. Originally scheduled for October 6, sentencing was postponed. August 2022, a fresh motion. Todd and Julie argued that their initial trial was fundamentally unfair and submitted a motion for a fresh trial and acquittal in August. Todd and Julie asserted in their legal filing that an IRS revenue officer lied in her evidence regarding the Chrisleys owing taxes, though she knew no taxes were owed. These statements, according to their argument, falsely painted the Chrisleys as untruthful, likely to commit additional forms of fraud, and dodging the tax payments specified in the indictment, they argued. Citing financial records they claim were illegally acquired by Georgia's Department of Revenue and initially withheld by the court, they further accused the court of admitting significant volumes of evidence at trial which was collected in violation of the Fourth Amendment. The complaint continues by charging that by permitting part of the allegedly suppressed paperwork to be admitted into evidence, the court failed to fully execute its suppression order. September 14, 2022. Postpone sentencing. The motion for a new trial resulted in a postponement of Todd and Julie's sentencing from October 6 to November 21. October 28, 2022. Motion refused. A federal judge rejected the pair's joint request for a fresh trial, upholding their November 21 sentencing date. Sentencing passed on November 21, 2022. On November 21, a federal court sentenced Todd and Julie to time in a federal prison after previously delaying the hearing. Julie received a 7-year prison term plus 16 months of probation, while Todd received a 12-year prison term and 16 months of probation. Their accountant, Peter Tarantino, who was also found guilty, had previously received a 3-year prison term. Chrisley Knows Best and Growing Up Chrisley, the family's 2 unscripted reality docuseries, were also canceled, according to Deadline. Apparently, the conviction led to the cancellation of both shows. That's all for this video. Let us know in the comments section what you think about all this. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe as well. See you next time. Bye.